Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Let's chant Sloka 31. Paroksha Jnanamasraddha Paroksha Jnanamasraddha Pratibadhnati Netarat Avicharo Parokshasya Jnanasya Pratibandakaha. So there are two obstacles for Paroksha Jnanam and Aparoksha Jnanam. Paroksha Jnanam is Brahmasti and Brahman is everything. Everything is nothing but Brahman, and Brahman is of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda. It's based on the scriptures. So this we cannot arrive at by any scientific analysis, and people claim that so now quantum mechanics and we are analyzing the higher and coming up with the fundamental particles. They call it got a God particle. God cannot be a particle. If God is a particle, then whole universe is over him, limited by everything else. So God cannot be particle. God cannot be inside the creation or outside the creation. God itself is the whole creation. So not only the particle, but also beyond the particle also, and that which binds the particle also. So God particle is only a objective scientists ridiculously naming it as something, and by that insulting statement is not nothing will happen. It's only his mind gets only limited, because objective sciences cannot analyze what is the absolute nature of the material, because absolute nature of the material is only relevant or not real. That's the scripture says. So therefore, for that Vedanta alone is a pramana. It tells you that Brahma Satyam, that means Brahman is alone is real, and we define what is real is that which remains the same in all three periods of time. That alone is real. So everything, even including so-called God particle, is only momentarily present there. Therefore, it's not really real. It's only momentarily real. So therefore, one has to be careful why Vedanta becomes a pramana, because the one, it includes both the subject and object. So Paroksha Jnanam Ashraddha Pratibadhnati. So the obstacle for the Paroksha Jnanam is not having a Shraddha, faith in the scriptures, because I don't see it, but I have to accept it, and what I see is dismissed as not real. What I don't see is stated as real. Therefore, it's called a viparitam. It's almost opposite, because what is real is negated as not real, and what I don't see, that is explained as real. So therefore, for that I need a Shraddha. So Paroksha Jnanam Ashraddha Pratibadhnati. So therefore, for that obstacle is not having a Shraddha is a real obstacle for not gaining the knowledge of Paroksha Jnanam. Means I don't understand the scripture properly, because how can it be Brahman? How can it be consciousness everywhere? This is a fundamental question people ask. I see unconscious entity, how can consciousness is everywhere? So that seems to be viparitam, or completely opposite to what the scripture says versus what I see. So Aparoksha Jnanam Ashraddha Pratibadhnati. For the Aparoksha Jnanam, that is, for Aparoksha Jnanam, what is the obstacle? It says you are that. So I understood that part correctly, but now I have to understand I am that. So how can I be that? Because that is different from me. That's my experience, and experience is the whole universe is separate from me. Even if I accept that the whole universe is nothing but Brahman, but how can I be whole universe? How can I be Brahman? How can I be infinite? I am finite. And this is a problem. So therefore I have to inquire. Why do I need to inquire? Because jnanam comes only by inquiry. So how can I be Brahman even though I don't seem to be? That's why you have to inquire. So because of avichara, because of lack of inquiry, I am not able to claim that I am the totality. That's the problem. So these are the two obstacles. So first obstacle is for indirect knowledge, paroksha jnanam, lack of shraddha. For the direct knowledge, immediate paroksha jnanam, the lack of inquiry is the second obstacles. So that's why Krishna says you should have a shraddha. Without shraddha, if you don't have it, don't even teach them, because it's a waste of your energy. And also he will misinterpret that. That's a problem. A lot of misinterpretation of Vedanta is going on, and one has to be very careful, and that's what he says, Shraddha becomes important. We'll now chant 32. Vicharyapya parokshena, vicharyapya parokshena, brahmatmanam na vetti chet, brahmatmanam na vetti chet, aparokshavasanatvad, bhuyo bhuyo vicharayet, bhuyo bhuyo vicharayet. Together, vicharyapya parokshena, brahmatmanam na vetti chet, aparokshavasanatvad, bhuyo bhuyo vicharayet. Now we are coming to the grips of the problem. So now we are looking at, I understood that paroksha jnanam, I have it. What I don't have it is aparoksha jnanam, that means claiming myself I am Brahman. That I am not able to do. So that's why people say, I have understood Vedanta. Even aparoksha jnanam also I understood as though it is an objective knowledge, as aparoksha jnanam, not as aparoksha jnanam, because the inquiry is not really complete. When I am transacting in the world, I forget that I am Brahman, but I am transacting, this is different, that is different. There is no problem in transacting in the world with the knowledge that there is no, this is not real. Then it becomes a drama. Every drama is nothing but, we know it's not real, but at the same time we are acting beautifully because it's a drama only, it's not real. I don't really suffer there, even though I'm acting like a suffering character there. And that's what the beauty of life also. I can play the game of life, drama of life beautifully, then only it becomes a leela. Otherwise it's not a leela. Natakam is a leela, and enjoy it provided you know it's not really real. The same way, when it's not really real, we can enjoy the beauty of the game. So now it says vicharyaha api, although we are inquired. So after listening to scriptures, I am now inquiring, aham brahmasmi, how can I be Brahman? Who am I? What's my nature? What's the Brahman nature? Therefore, as Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, Isha jiva yoho veshadi bida sattva bhavato vastu kevalam. So Ishaha jivaha, Ishvara and Jiva are really different. Vesham is different. So the costume that a Jiva is wearing and the costume like Ishvara is wearing, both are different. So Isha Jivayoho Veshadi Bida Sattva Bhavato, but essence of Jiva exists. Jiva has to exist, and is conscious entity. We are not talking about some stone, we are about a conscious entity as Jiva, and Ishvara also has to exist, and he should be a conscious entity. So God particle cannot become God. God particle has to be conscious entity. Then only God particle becomes God. And that they forget it. So any particle is only unconscious entity. An unconscious entity cannot exist without the validation by a conscious entity. A scientist has to say that there is a God particle. God particle does say I am God particle. So therefore, the validity and the knowledge of the existence of a God particle is established by a conscious entity knowing it, otherwise it is uncertain. So therefore, vichara, even after inquiring, vichare api aparokshena brahmatvanam na vetti chet, in case I have not gained that I am Brahman, because this is everybody's problem. It says, I don't claim that I am Brahmasmi, and I can repeat I am Brahmasmi, but I am not able to claim that I am Brahmasmi. How do you know that you are claiming or not claiming? Because when I enter into the world, I feel the suffering. When I am feeling the suffering, that means I have not understood Aham Brahmasmi. That's a litmus test. Not somebody else going to tell you that you are not realized. So they won't know either, of course. So vicharyaha api parokshena brahmatmanam na veti cheti. In case you have not, after sotavyaha, mantavyaha, and the nididhyasanam is inquiry, na veti cheti. Aparoksha avasanatvat. So aparoksha avasanatvat. So the inquiry being culminated, at the inquiry, bhuyo bhuyaha, again and again, vichariyet. Again and again inquiry has to be done. So how long I had to inquire? Keep on inquiring. This nididhyasi tavyaha. Tavya means you have to inquire. So how long? Until you, the firm knowledge that it is. Nididhyasa means contemplation, meditation on that. Itself is upasana. On what? On the Brahma Tattva Vichara. Aham Brahmasmi Vichara itself becomes a meditation. And that is a inquiry involved, vichara involved. So how long? Bhuyo bhuyo vichara. Again and again and again. How long? Until that is crystal clear, Aham Brahmasmi. What's the litmus test? This is what given in the Chandogya litmus test. There, the Uddalaka asks, it gives a story of a king, and somebody is brought in as a thief. So the police brought somebody saying that this fellow must have stolen. So the police have not seen it, but they conclude that this fellow must have stolen. Why? Because of some circumstantial evidence. It so happened he went there at that time and he claimed that I have not stolen. That's another problem also. So police brought him because of the circumstantial evidence, and he is claiming that I have not stolen, and the king has to make a decision. On what basis? Is the police who have not seen it says that he has stolen it, and the fellow who is brought in says he has not stolen it. There is no other evidence to prove that he has stolen. So what is the king going to do? So whether he is telling the truth or not, we don't know. And then when he says that he has not stolen it, if he is not telling the truth, that means he has stolen it. So there are two problems. One is, if he has stolen, that's one problem, and if he is also telling a lie also. Whereas if he is telling the truth that I have not stolen, then he is not a thief also, and he is not lying also. This is the critical test. So what is king going to do? How is he going to depend on something? So what he did is ask these people to bring a red hot iron, and red hot iron, some stick or something was brought in, and says, you touch this. The fellow, the so-called thief, says, you touch it. If you are telling the truth, then your hand will not get burnt. That is the faith in that statement. So you touch it, and if your hand does not get burnt, that means you are telling the truth. That means you are not stolen also. That also you are not a liar. But if it gets burned, then the problem is, it shows that you are telling a lie. That also shows that means you must have stolen also. So you have two errors, two crimes. And then when he touches, it doesn't get burned. Therefore, he was telling the truth. That means he has not stolen. So he was telling the truth, and he has not stolen, and therefore his hands did not get burned. And therefore the king honored him and sent him with giving lot of gifts, and that was, at least I don't know who stole it, but that is the story. But the story means that when I go and transact and touch the world, so if I say I have realized, there are two things. I have to tell the truth. And the things I have realized, Aham Brahmasmi. So there are two things are there. So if I have realized that and I am telling the truth, then when I go and contact the world, contact the hot world, if I don't get burned, then that means I am telling the truth and also I am realized. So that is the litmus test. So if you want to know you are going to realize it or not, then you have to go and get a touch hot, red hot iron. Implication is that I alone can know, but whenever I transact in the world, I should not get burned. That is the litmus test for self-realization. So vicharya, so aparokshavasana, therefore bhuyo bhuyo vicharya. So I have to keep on inquiring, but how do I know? It's not a discrete process. The realization is because you are establishing in many moments, but in those moments we are strongly involved, again you get burned a little bit, but you recover back. That's what called the FP frequency and intensity, FIR reduction. So Paramarthananda says it's called FIR reduction. So as I contemplate and assimilate and claim myself, I am, the frequency of perturbation from that state, F, intensity of disturbance from that state, I, and the recovery time from that to my Brahman state, they go down slowly, 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 as I abide in the knowledge. Therefore, I am peaceful, more peaceful, serene, I don't get unnecessarily disturbed, and that means the knowledge is slowly sinking in. Aham Brahmasmi. Calm, quietness, peaceful, unperturbed by the ups and downs. Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha, sukeshu vigataspruhaha, vita raga bhaya krodhaha, siddhadhir muniruchyate. That's what Krishna said. So the one, this is dukkheshu anudvignamanaha. So he doesn't get upset when the calamities come. Calamities do come, whether you are realized or not, according to prarabdha. Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha. Sukheshu, pleasures also will be coming. Sukheshu vigata, you don't get excited by pleasures also. Therefore, vita raga bhaya krodha. So ragam, sokam, desham, raga dveshas, and bhayam and krodham, anger, all will go down, and in terms of frequency, the intensity and the recovery time goes down as one abides in it. So therefore, bhuyo bhuyo vichare, again and again and again, constantly you have to think. So as a sadhana, one has to do and inquire into the nature of the reality, that is Vijnasasva. '33. Vicharayanna maranam, vichayanna maranam, naivatmanam labheta chet, naivatmanam labheta chet, janmantare labhetaiva, janmantare labhetaiva, pradibandhakshaye sati, pradibandhakshaye sati. Together, vicharayanna maranam, naivatmanam labheta chet, janmantare labhetaiva, pradibandhakshaye sati. So vicharayan, amaranam, amaranam is up to death. Vicharayan, after inquiring, Aham Brahmasmi, inquiring is going on, Vedanta study through, and Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasnam continuously going on, up to death also, Amaranam. Amaranam Vicharayan, one has inquired again and again. Atmanam na eva labhyate. One has not recognized that aham brahmasmi. That means firmly abiding. But Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, Drudhaiva nishtha, says, then who is abiding in the knowledge. That means unperturbed. That is Sita Prajnaha. So Prajnaha is indirect knowledge. Sita Prajnaha, the one who is firmly abiding in the knowledge. So Sita Prajnasya ka bhasha. What is his language? It says Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atman yevatmana tushtaha Sita Prajnastadochyate. So Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. One is reveling in himself by himself. The self that revels in is sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani chamatmani. The self that I am is self in all. In that self he revels, and therefore he is unperturbed, and therefore there is no other desire for him. So therefore, in case even after inquiring again and again and again, one has not gained it, but one has kicked the bucket. That's what it says. Vicharayan on amaranam naivatmanam labhetachid. Up to the death, he has not gained the knowledge of I am Brahmasmi, aparoksha jnanam. If he has not gained, then what happens? Next line says, Janmantare labhetaiva. Janma antare, this next birth or the after birth, because this is not the birth, this birth is not the end of it. There is no eternal hell and eternal heaven in according to Vedanta. Even eternal hell and heavens are only resort areas, temporarily. Shine punye martyulokam vishanti, shine pape narakalokam vishanti. That it doesn't say that. It says only because people don't want to go. People are ready to leave Narakam anytime possible, but they are held it because the problem is there. Whereas the Punyam, they don't want to leave the heavens, so therefore they will be pushed out of it. So Janmantare labhetaiva pratibandhakshaye sati. So because of that, he will be gaining in the next life, next one life or many lives, next life at least from this point, that all the pratibandha will be removed because he is going through whatever the karma, papa karma, through giving, because it's not easy to be enclosed in the mother's womb for 9 months. So, and then be born again and crying. That's why nobody will come with a laughing. They will be crying out. And therefore, it's not that is itself is a pratibandha that goes away. So therefore, one can gain this knowledge. So, number one, nothing gets lost. Svalpamapyasya dharmeti, even dharma that you have done will be beneficial to you, Krishna said. And this knowledge, and as he is going to give reference to the 6th chapter of Gita, where Arjuna asked the question, what happens to Ubhaya Brashta? Krishna answers it. That's what is essentially Janmantare. You will be born again in a conducive environment. There you can realize that your progress will be rapid, obstacles have been removed, therefore you gain. So he says, Janmantare labheta eva pratibandhakshaye sati. When the pratibandha kshayam, when the destruction of the obstacle is gone, then one can gain the knowledge. That means you will never ever lose a pinch of it. Everything will be added up. And therefore, it is better to realize now, thinking that, oh, in next life I will want to realize. It's not meant for that. In case you die without realizing, that is a solution. But you can realize right now, right here. Ihaiva. Right now, right here only you can realize. And effort should be made for that. So what is the guarantee that I am going to be born in the next life? You are selling that. That's why Ubhaya Brashta. That's why Arjuna also the same problem. He is called Ubhaya Brashta. He neither enjoyed the life nor he gained the moksha. Therefore he suffered here, doing all sorts of disciplinary things, and at the same time he didn't gain what he wanted. So Arjuna calls Ubhaya Brashta. So Krishna says he is not a Vayabrashta. He only get rid of unnecessary things and proceed in the right direction. He will reach the goal in the next life. So what is guarantee? So scriptural guarantee. Scripture provides the guarantee. Ihava amutra va vejje. Ihava amutra. So ihava amutra va vejje. Evam sutra krudoditam. Evam sutra krudoditam. Shunvantopyatra bahavo. Shunvantopyatra bahavaha. Yanna vijjuriti srutihi. Yanna vijjuriti srutihi. Together. Ihava amutrava vijjed. Evam sutra krutoditam. Shunvantopyatra bahavo. Yanna vijjuhu iti srutihi. Ihava. So in this life. Amutrava. In the next life, in this life or in the next life, by inquiring, you will be gaining that, essentially. So inquiry will not be a waste, number one. So ihava amutrava, in this or in the next life. Vidya, here is aproksha anubhuti. Aproksha anubhuti, vidya means the knowledge that aham brahmasmi, the aproksha jnanam, that means recognition that I am Brahman, not that I am not Brahman. Even if I don't inquire also I am Brahman. Therefore inquiry will ensure that I am thinking that I am not Brahman. Now I have firmly abiding knowledge that I am indeed Brahman. So aproksha anubhuti iti will be gained. Evam, in this way, Sutrakruta Uditam. Who has said that? Sutrakruta, one who wrote sutras, that is Badarayana. According to tradition, Badarayana is same as the Veda Vyasa has said this in the Brahma Sutras. So he has given reference. But in the Brahma Sutra, it is said that you will be gaining in the next life if not in this life. So Bahavaha, for many, yet that Brahman, Atrina Viduhu, in this life it's not possible, then it is Srutihi. This is the authority of Upanishad. So, though for many people who have not gained that Aham Brahmasmi, Aparoksha Jnanam is not gained, after gaining the Paroksha Jnanam, they are not able to gain the Aparoksha, means claim that I am Brahmasmi. It's easy to get Paroksha Jnanam, Brahmasti and all that, if I have a faith in the scripture. But even of the faith also, because of the sometimes adrushta obstacle, unseen obstacle preventing me to abide in the knowledge, means forcing me to act and involved in the activities because of the sometimes prarabdha. And therefore, that prarabdha is so powerful, I am getting involved into the activities that really dissipate my mind. And that's why the scripture says that in the next life you will be gained. What is authority? The Sutrakruta, the one who has written the sutras, that is Veda Vyasa, has said so in the Srutihi, in the Brahma Sutras. There is also in the Kathopanishad also it is said. So there are examples of now Vamadeva example are going to be given, and number 35. Garbhaye vasayanaha, Garbhaye vasayanaha, Sam Vamadevo Vabuddhavan, Sam Vamadevo Vabuddhavan, Purvabhyasta Vicharena, Yadvad Adjayanam Adishu, Yadvad Adjayanam Adishu. Together. Garbhayena sayanaha, Sambhamadevo na buddhavan, Purvabhyasta vicharena, Yadvad adjayanam adishu. So Garbhayeva, in the Garbham itself, in the womb itself, Sayan son, while sleeping there, Vamadeha, this is an example from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So Vamadeva example is given in the Brihadaranyaka, where he was sleeping in the womb of the mother and still realized it. How can he realize that? Because there was a pratibandha, obstacle in his previous life. Because without the Vedanta study, according to the scriptures, you cannot realize. So he must have studied, and he is able to realize because that effect is coming through. And the scripture says that he has gained the knowledge in the past lives, and there was an obstacle that prevented him to recognize that pratibandha is gone. Therefore, garbha eva sayanaha. So therefore, while sleeping in the womb, he is able to realize Vamadevaha, avabuddhavan. He has realized that aham brahmasmi, says this scripture. Because we could not talk of Vamadeva. Yadvat, just as Advayan Adishu, just as one remembers what has been Adjayan, means what has been remembered in the past. So, remember, a lot of people have this experience. So, when they by heart when they are childhood, that's why one should by heart all. That's why in olden days the Veda Adjayanam is done. Child is first to repeat and to memorize it. So, because it's easy to memorize at that age, number one. Number two, it is easy to remember later also, because what you learn in the childhood, you remember all through your life. Whereas other things you study, you lose that. Therefore, Ajjayanam, that you have repeated again and again and again, that which has what is called Ajjayanam. So the way they used to study is they repeat the previous class and then learn new one. Again they repeat previous class and then the new one. So every time in the next class you are repeating a lot of it that I have learned before, but in the process you are repeating again and again and again. That becomes sink into the mind. So he gives that example. I have vichara again and again. I have inquired. I am that Brahman. I am that Brahman. Brahman is totality. That inquiry will remember subconsciously in the mind, and that conscious and subconscious in the mind is the one that is being born. That is called the mind. With the subtle mind is the one that travels, and therefore you remember the previous samskara is there. The remembrance, not exactly detailed, but effect comes into picture, and therefore yadvat ajjayan adishu. Just as one repeats the Ajjayanam, the one who has chanted, so therefore insist on your children learning at an young age in terms of the Bhagavad Gita chanting and the slokas chanting. All that will be helpful later, because we remember what we learned when we were children, but not what we learned later. So therefore the teaching of the child and the proper repetition and memorization is very important at the childhood. So therefore he is giving scripture itself is giving an example where Vamadeva, without being even born also, he realized, how can it be? Because he has in the past done both the gained paroksha jnanam as well as aproksha jnanam, but he was not able to abide in it because of pratibandha, because of the obstruction. 36 now. Bahuvaramadhitepi yadanayati chetpunaha dhinantarena dhichaiva purvadhitam smaret puman together. Bahuvaramadhitepi yadanayati chetpunaha dhinantarena dhichaiva purvadhitam smaret puman. Bahuvaram adhite api. So adhite, of studying Bahuvaram, although studying many times the scripture, listening to the scriptures prolongedly by attending satsang and so on, constantly studying. So Bahuvaram Adetepi Yadana Ayati, one does not remember it, Chit, in case if that is an objection. Punaha Dinantare, on another day, Anadhitya, having not studied even, Eva Puman Purvadhitaha Adhitam Smared. What has studied before suddenly comes to your mind. So this happens to many people. So this happens to me at least. When I keep watching, suddenly I see people, I remember his name, because I can see the face. I know his name, but the name doesn't come immediately. So hi, how are you, and all that, everything. In fact, it's become a problem for me. When people call and they tell the name, and I don't know who is that person who really with that name, because the name and the form has gone from the memory, because this is a short. Because I'm not doing contemplation on that. It's only introduction one side. That's why people meet and we forget immediately the names also. So therefore, the one who has constantly again and remembered, even if you suddenly ask them, they may not remember. But once they again go back, without again recapitulating, suddenly the name comes, oh, that now I remember what is his name. At that time you didn't remember, but later I got remember, because my mind was not agitated quite, maybe now that came slowly, whereas I didn't have time for me to think about it. So the memory, because this is strong there, Ajjayanam, because strongly deep-rooted, and therefore even though it is not coming up, it is there, and that can come anytime when the mind is unperturbed. Then those moments it will come. So that's why, Ajjayanam is become important, Vichara is important. Even if it doesn't seem to be fruitful immediately, it will have an effect. So number 37, Kalena paripachyante, Kalena paripachyante, Krushigarbhadayo yatha, Krushigarbhadayo yatha, Tadvad Atma Vicharopi, Sanai Kalena Pruchyate, together, Kalena paripachyante, Krushigarbhadayo yatha, Adva Atma Vicharopi, Sanai Kalena Pruchyate. So here he gives another example. So Yatha Krushigarbhadayaha. So the Krushi is here, just as the after conception in the garbham, in the womb, then the seed has been consumed. Therefore, after conception, then it will take its time to go from a single cell to a complete human being, and that is an evolution. And evolution, it takes a time process, and normally for a human being, for a life of a human, it takes 9 to 10 months in the garbham, and it has to grow before it's ready to come out. So even the seed in the garbham takes its own time to evolve. That's what the example here is. Yada Krushik Garbhadayaha, the fetus in the womb has to take its time. Kalena paripachyante, it matures as it takes a time. Tadvato, in the same way, Atma Vicharaha api, even the inquiring about my own nature, Atma Vicharaha api, even though it's immediate and direct, api, Sanaihi slowly, Kalena pachyate, it matures slowly. So there was a joke, one admiral wanted everything fast, everything has to be quick. So they were investigating a corrosion in the Navy, and it takes some time, because you cannot corrode quickly. So he was asking, says, if you are doing 3 tests, it takes time. How about if you have 100 tests, then it should be fast. So that was he was saying, in order to fasten the process. So the fellow answered, he says, sir, it takes 9 months for a fetus to grow to become a baby. But we cannot fasten the process by impregnating 9 people and reduce it to 1 month. So each one has to do its own way. So in the same way, the seed has to take its time. Same way, because of obstacle is there which are not seen, adrishta obstacle, even though I am inquiring every day and dwelling on it, still I am not able to abide in the knowledge. But yet, this will not be a waste. I will be born in a conducive environment, and the pratibandha will go away, and I will proceed further on. That's what this statement here. With this we stop and continue 38 later. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.